Thank you, Aubrey, and good morning, everybody. It's an absolute pleasure and honor to be here for the Indigenous Roundtable today. I guess our purpose of being here today is to announce a very important partnership that we've achieved. In my 2.5 years as Minister of Justice, since the Premier gave me the pleasure of doing this work, one of the issues that we've been striving to work on is access to justice for all individuals within our province. And there's no population that is underrepresented within the justice system in our province than Indigenous people. And it's evident whether it's on our bench, whether it's in the legal profession, whether it's in any division under justice. And this is an issue not just here in this province, but across the country. And so over the last number of years, we've worked on an idea of trying to, how can we remedy this? And the best way to change the system is to make people more a part of that system. So today we're announcing a partnership that we've achieved between the Government of Newfoundland and Labrador, the University of Saskatchewan College of Law, and the various Indigenous governments. And the partnership will see, starting in the fall, hopefully, of 2019, we will see a creation of a partnership where the University of Saskatchewan will have 2 seats for Indigenous students from Newfoundland and Labrador at the University of Saskatchewan. The Indigenous governments will work on the selection and the recruiting of individuals to apply for these positions, and will help with the funding of these positions. And the Government of Newfoundland and Labrador, after the second year of law school, we will create articling positions here with the Government of Newfoundland and Labrador doing civil and criminal law, and knowing that they have a position once they leave law school is one of the biggest issues that we face. The Dean will be able to talk more about this. But getting into law school used to be the biggest challenge. But now we have, throughout our country, we have an abundance of students, but not enough people with these positions. So these students, knowing that when they start law school, will have gainful employment here in Newfoundland and Labrador, getting what I think is the best legal education, I think is going to be a huge boost to our system. This partnership wouldn't be possible without, obviously, I think the willingness of our Premier, who has been excited about this since we first talked about it a number of months ago. And this is something we've been working on for well over a year. It also wouldn't work without the University of Saskatchewan, which I'm proud to say is my alma mater, and having been there well over a year ago and meeting with the Dean to discuss this. So to have Dean Martin Phillipson here from the College of Law to come down and talk about this partnership, I think shows their commitment to not just to legal education, but to the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. So on that note, I just want to say this is, I think, really a huge day for our province, for our Indigenous communities, for our Indigenous leaders, and for the legal system in Newfoundland and Labrador to know that we are going to help bring change to the system by making people a part of our system. And on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Dean Martin Phillipson, who's here from Saskatoon, from the College of Law, to talk about the university's participation in this initiative.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Mr. Premier, Minister Parsons, members of Cabinet and Indigenous leaders. The University of Saskatchewan has had over a 40-year commitment to the participation of Canada's Indigenous peoples in the legal system and in the legal profession. We established our Native Law Centre in the early 1970s, and its summer program has trained over 1,000 Indigenous students and got them their start in their legal education. So it's part of the fabric and identity of our school that we believe that Indigenous people have a role to play in the legal profession in Canada. So this partnership is an absolutely logical thing for us to do. It's a natural evolution of our work across the country in making sure that that the bar and the bench eventually reflect Canada's Indigenous people's identities. Currently we're running a law school in Iqaluit where we have 25 students doing face-to-face instruction in Iqaluit. We'll be graduating up to 25 students there in 2021 in a contribution to make sure there is an Indigenous bar in Nunavut. So again, this partnership is a very logical extension of the work that we believe is incredibly important. I'm delighted to have been able to work with a former student of mine, Minister Parsons, in bringing this together and working and meeting with the Indigenous leaders last night, and we're just incredibly excited about this work. It's so important in the light of the recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. There are 2 specific recommendations and calls to action of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission regarding law schools, and we are one of the schools that's taking our obligations very, very seriously. And again, work in the classroom, but also partnerships such as this are a clear testament to the importance of fulfilling the obligations of the calls to action under the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and this work is very important to us, and that's one of the major reasons why we're doing this. It's so important that there is a pipeline of Indigenous students going to university, then going into professional schools, including law schools, then becoming qualified as lawyers, and then ending up in the bar, senior members of the bar and the bench. So we have a pipeline of Indigenous students coming out as qualified professionals. So one of the key aspects of this program, one I think of the innovative things about this particular partnership, is the provision of the articling positions by the Government of Newfoundland and Labrador at the end of this process. The law schools in Canada are getting much better at getting Indigenous students into law school. They're getting much better at graduating Indigenous students from law school. But the last piece of the puzzle and sort of completing the circle is the fact that there will be significant employment opportunities at the end of these programs where these students can then take their place within the legal profession. The way that Canada's legal system will change to be more reflective of Indigenous people's cultural traditions, desires, traditional laws, is by having Indigenous people fully participate in the operation of the legal system. So we're delighted again to be here, to be working with the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. The College of Law has a very long relationship with the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. We have many, many alumni in this province. I think 4 or 5 judges in this province are our alumni, so we're very proud that we have a long history of working with the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, and I think today's announcement and today's partnership is again just a wonderful extension of that relationship, and I'm just really delighted to be here, and I'm looking forward to working with the Indigenous leaders and the provincial government in bringing this program to fruition. Thank you very much.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second of what will be annual roundtables working with our Indigenous communities within Newfoundland and Labrador. And I want to welcome Dean Williamson, or Phillipson, to Newfoundland and Labrador. The Dean is certainly, as he mentioned, there's always been a very close relationship when you look at the province of Saskatchewan and Newfoundland and Labrador. We were chatting earlier this morning about a lot of the things that we have in common, and not just the industries in our province, but indeed our people as well. And so we've been, I know over my professional life, the relationship we have had with the University of Saskatchewan has always been great. And of course, the University of Saskatchewan is responsible for giving us our Justice Minister. So for me, that's an added benefit, and I didn't realize there was as many judges that would have graduated from the University of Saskatchewan, but indeed you can tell the impact that the University of Saskatchewan has had on the legal community here in Newfoundland and Labrador. So welcome, Dean. And it's great to see you. I know this man has been extremely busy. We had a look at his travel itinerary yesterday. My suggestion to him was fire his travel agent, because they've been bringing him through all over the world in recent weeks. So, but I can tell you, hopefully today, as he leaves here with many with special memories, and certainly welcome back at any time. Today will be a remarkable day. Really looking forward to it. There's a lot of planning, and I want to welcome all the Indigenous leaders that are joining us in Cornwall today. We have 3 issues on our agenda that we will be discussing. One will be the repatriation of the remains of the Beothuk. We have made significant progress as a result of all of us working together this year. Our cultural plan, and important that when we put in place a cultural plan for Newfoundland and Labrador, it means that we need some strong consultation and inclusion with Indigenous folks in our province. We all know that tourism is a major opportunity for us in Newfoundland and Labrador, and reaching out and making sure that culture, Indigenous culture, is a major centerpiece of that is important for all of us as well. Also, something that has been extremely important to every single area of our province is the report that we released last year on our strategy around mental health and addictions, and that's towards recovery. So we have a number of our ministers here today, MHAs, of course, as well, from all over this province. And towards recovery, we deal with mental health and addictions in our province will be a topic of discussion for us as well today. And we have ministers that will be presenting, and we'll be ready to take questions and back and forth at our table today. And what will be a very extensive debate as we work towards making sure that we come out of this today with even a strong partnership with our Indigenous groups across our province. The Dean had mentioned already about partnerships and the role that this will play in the calls for action coming out of Truth and Reconciliation, and I agree with him. It's important for us as a province. When you look at incarceration in Newfoundland and Labrador versus the ability to have legal representation, they are disproportionate. So it's important for us as a province to recognize that we have some of the brightest minds, Indigenous minds in our province that are looking for a career, for a profession in Indigenous law and so on in our province. So it's important today that this is really a milestone, and as a government and through a department, we will do whatever we can to make sure that those students have a great chance, have a good chance to get the career of their choice, and the University of Saskatchewan is ideally positioned to be able to do that with today's announcement. One of the oldest schools, law schools in Western Canada. I will say also that from 125 students, I think the Dean mentioned to be within the law department that they would have at the University of Saskatchewan, upwards of nearly 20% of those would be Indigenous students. So that's important to recognize the importance that the University of Saskatchewan has put on Indigenous law schools, in their Indigenous law schools. So today is one about strengthening partnerships, not just with our own Indigenous communities, but this morning's announcement is also with the University of Saskatchewan. So we're looking forward to today's meetings that we have, the second annual Indigenous Roundtable in Newfoundland and Labrador. Last year's was a great success, and we're looking forward to coming out of this today with even more successes and a stronger partnership. So, to Dean Phillipson, welcome again. Thank you for today's announcement. Thank you to the Minister and to the Department and all the officials that have put a tremendous amount of work in making this happen today, and I look forward to our discussion later on as we get into our agenda on our Indigenous Roundtable. So thank you very much for this announcement. Some great work. Really appreciate all your efforts. So thank you.